Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. In this episode, Disney's Year of Hell continues, and they're all out of wishes. Scream has a week of chaos, reviews of American fiction, and more. Plus, as we approach the end of the year, we open it up for listener questions. So let's get on with the show. My name's Aaron Peterson. Joining me today, I'm my fellow host, John Davenport.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Doing a podcast. How about yourself?
I thought about doing a podcast, but I don't really feel like it.
That's obvious. Troy Heinrichs?
I have a conflict. I'm recording something else at this time, so I'm not actually here.
Great. Well, we're off to a wonderful start, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your 2023 as we round it out with our hell of our own.
Right. Yeah, we're so into doing this that we are kind of like, can we just get this over with already?
Shut your hole. The holidays are over, right? Well, the first portion. Now we're into the second section of the holidays, the December holidays.
They're only winding up.
Well, Thanksgiving and stuff is over, right? Where we celebrate taking America or whatever.
We celebrate taking America.
Isn't that what it's about?
No, not anymore.
Oh.
It's about family and about driving fast cars or something.
I don't think that's what it's about.
It's about shopping.
Yeah,
Period.
exactly.
Shopping.
Does anybody still go to the stores?
No.
So Black Friday is really not even a thing anymore, right? It's all just online sales.
Well, I don't think so, because there was some craziness in the mall down the street from here was packed, and a lot of the places around. I was nice to go to other places other than the mall or where commerce happened, but I tried to not do any sort of commerce at all.
Right. Like I said, you don't go to the stores.
Right.
I don't even know if anybody does.
I was on the highway coming towards the mall. I had to get off on the exit just before the mall to go into the city, into Chicago. And I am so glad I got off at that exit, because the 10 feet after that was like utter disaster traffic of people trying to get off at the mall exit.
Oh, really?
Like it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, why do you want to do this to yourselves? The door opened at 5 a.m. You're not there at 5:01. You're screwed. Go home.
It's true. It's so true.
Like they're magically holding a TV for you at 12:30 in the afternoon. No, they're not.
Absolute chaos.
And you can buy it on Monday for the same price and have it delivered to your house without ever having to get out of your jammies.
Yeah.
If not cheaper.
The wild part is now, they do the Black Friday sales on Tuesday. I mean, the sales online are there several days before they ever show up, before the Black Friday approaches. So I don't even understand why people even bother at all. It's a waste of time.
There's like a Black Friday in July now. There's a Black Friday in October. Get Black Friday deals way before Black Friday. They're just really diluting the name Black Friday at this point.
And by the way, Troy, you never want to get a TV on Black Friday, because you always get those scaled down models, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get the TV before the Super Bowl.
Well, that's true. But if you get the ones around the holidays, what you're getting is usually you get 2 HDMI ports and things like that. Like, they strip them down a little bit. So you get a little less in your TV than you would get if you bought it off the rack normally.
It's also last year's model.
Yes, it usually is. Yep.
I also don't have $6,000 to buy the TCL 98-inch TV that came out with multiple dimming zones and mini LEDs that looks just freaking spectacular.
98 inches?
It is certified IMAX ready.
Overcompensate much?
It's Barney Stinson's TV.
It's a little ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but it's amazing.
I don't need a TV that big. Just get a freaking projector and just project on the wall if you're going to do that. Just paint the wall white, get a projector. You're good to go. Save some money.
Have you seen some of these projectors they're coming out with, where you just put them on the floor right in front of the wall and the picture looks perfect?
It's great, man. I have a outdoor projector. In the summer, I do like drive-ins in my house because I have a white fence. So I project onto the fence. Nothing fancy at all. It's a $150, $200 projector, whatever it was. Looks great. Absolutely looks great. So you don't need to spend a ton of money to have a great picture. Hey, whatever you want to do. Let's get into movie TV discussion. So Disney's had a year of 1,000 deaths. And what I mean by that is This used to be the most successful house in filmdom, and this year they didn't have a movie cross $1 billion worldwide, which I believe hasn't happened since 2014. Correct me if I'm wrong, Troy.
Yep.
Do you think Disney's in big trouble?
I don't think they're in big trouble. I think that they just didn't have anything that's worth being $1 billion this year. I mean, when you think about the last time that they were like firing, we'll call it firing on all cylinders, right? Was 2019, right before the pandemic. But they had live action Aladdin, live action Lion King, Toy Story 4, Frozen 2, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, which came out right at the end and didn't cross until moving into 2020, but still counts. They had Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame. Like there are like multiple IPs, multiple trilogies, already people embedded in these stories. Like those are going to do $1 billion. Like all you had this year was Guardians 3, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, and I think one other one. Oh, The Little Mermaid, which was terrible.
Well, okay, so let me backtrack. Number one, I liked The Little Mermaid a lot. I don't think it was terrible, but that's it's a matter of opinion.
It was cute. It wasn't what they promised it to be. It was not as enjoyable as the original cartoon.
I would agree with that.
Haley is amazing. She's great. Melissa McCarthy was awesome, but the whole movie just did not work. I think because they tried so hard to make Ariel not Ariel, but they made Eric 100% Eric, and that actor was terrible, and the new song was bad. And King Triton was weird.
Fair enough. So what I was trying to say, they did have some stuff that should have popped, right? They made several calculated missteps. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was not a good movie. I thought it was pretty terrible, personally, which is their big selling point for their whole Kang dynasty. I mean, if Kang can't capture your attention in that movie, how's he going to do it for a big Avengers movie? That's my question. You've got the Marvels, which by all accounts should have been a massive hit, but because Disney, my opinion, diluted the brand so much. I know a lot of people love to point, I'm so sick of hearing the woke thing. That's just exhausting. It's a movie with a female hero. That's all that, I don't know why that makes it woke, but whatever. You go have your little debates online. I'm not doing that shit. The movie should have been a big hit because it was a sequel to one of Marvel's biggest hits. And I think the reason why that one flopped so hard and why everything but Guardians in the Marvel catalog flopped so hard is because of dilution, because they had so much. Well, number one, I think the multiverse is very confusing for a lot of audiences. Do you guys agree with that before I move on? That the multiverse is confusing and not that interesting.
To a general audience.
Yes, to a general audience. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that interesting. It doesn't make any sense. It's too much.
Yeah, it's too much. Then you've got several bad movies stemming from last year. I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder sucked. Wakanda Forever was good, but that's, beside the point. I mean, there's still a lot of flops in there.
Eternals. Sorry.
Eternals was awful. Yeah, that was a couple years ago. But, they've had several misses. Plus, they've had so much on the TV front. Like, there's just so much Marvel out there now. It's just become exhausting. It's a different problem than DC has, but I think it's a serious problem. And then, hang on, let me finish my point.
Yeah.
And then you've got Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny that I firmly put on their marketing department. I think by debuting it at Cannes, where it got, very middling reviews and a very poor reaction that made everybody think it was going to be a really shitty movie. And then it comes out and audience, like the critical reviews then start to go up and the audience reviews go way up. Like the audiences love that movie, but it didn't open well. And I think a lot of it has to do with one, Crystal Skull kind of turned people off a little bit, but the whole opening at a con and getting negative reception turned people off to begin with. So you have people already no longer excited about it where they were excited about it before. So I think Disney has shot themselves in the foot, and the Little Mermaid experiment. I think people are just tired of the live action remakes of Disney cartoons.
Or they're tired of the fact that they changed it, because what really worked with Beauty and the Beast live action remake was that it was a shot for shot remake of the original movie. We already know the movie. We just want to see it in live action.
But what was the big change in Little Mermaid other than her skin color? Which I don't care about.
The whole opening was different. There was no opening number with the sisters. The sisters were basically irrelevant in the movie. The flounder change and what he looked like, the new songs that they added for Eric and how they meet was a little bit different and changed. It just was, and King Triton wasn't the same kind of "Brr, like humans suck." Triton was kind of a wimp.
So you felt like it didn't have the same vibe as Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, where they stuck really close to the source material.
Totally agree. Even Jungle Book's live action was good.
Okay, I liked Little Mermaid, but I like those changes too, because in my mind, I've got the cartoon. Like, I'll always have the cartoon. It's a special movie to me and my daughter, so I'll always have that. This was just a new version, and it was a more adult version. I like this version. Plus, Haley Bailey, that's her name, right? Wonderful. She's absolutely wonderful. Like, she deserves to be a star. I can't wait to see her in the color purple.
But if you're banking on that movie making $1 billion, then you got to appeal to the people that are going to come out and make that $1 billion movie. And I think that was the problem. Is like, you get the first batch of people going out and seeing it and going like, that's not my Little Mermaid. Haley aside, right? It's not about that. It's not the Little Mermaid they remember. For the people that have the disposable income, they start telling their friends, and all of a sudden people are waiting until it comes out on video and on streaming for free, basically.
I mean, but you do have to admit, there is a section of people that trash that movie just because of her skin color. Like, it had nothing to do with anything.
Oh, for sure.
Other. It was just very simplistic, and they couldn't get past that for some reason. But you have the cartoon.
Shame on those people, but that is going to affect the $1 billion take also.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which that part's stupid.
I think Guardians, if Guardians would have came out before Ant-Man, I think Guardians would have crossed $1 billion. But I think Ant-Man coming out first
diluted it,
dampered the MCU feel for the year, and it diluted it because it's too close. They came out too close together.
Do you agree with me on the Indiana Jones situation?
Oh, for sure. Like, Indiana Jones should have done much better than it did.
That's a good movie. That's a damn good movie. Like, I enjoy that movie
it's a
so
really
much.
Good. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's just.
It's not Last Crusade, but it's darn close.
And honestly, Elemental, that should have been huge. Wish should have been huge. These are movies that are in the Disney wheelhouse, and they're not doing well at all. So, do you think Disney Plus hurt them in some respect because of those shortened theatrical windows, or not even having them anymore during the pandemic? That people just got too accustomed. I'll just wait until it's on Disney Plus. Do you think that happened? Is that a factor here?
The fact that things show up sooner on Disney Plus, the fact that Disney Plus makes things so much more convenient for their client base, because let's face it, their client base has more to do with children and families with children than it does, or families in general, than it does for the single person that goes out and watches a movie. It's usually about capturing the big ticket family experience. And when you make the family experience at home so much more convenient, they're just going to take more advantage of that. You just sit down in Disney and watch families trying to enjoy themselves. And one, you're going to really decide that birth control is really worth it, because these poor parents sometimes are running around looking frazzled and looking like they're miserable. Meanwhile, they have one kid who's having a big grin on their face. The other one's crying because, Little Mermaid won't look at her the right way. And the other one's just like peeing in the wishing well. So, what are they going to go to and deal with more? They're going to go with the more convenience option, hands down.
Plus, it's expensive, I guess, but it's always been that way.
Yeah.
If you have kids, I mean, that hasn't changed. So,
no, that hasn't changed. But, you're right. It has always been expensive. But now Disney Plus has made it $10 a month.
True. Okay. Well, it'll be interesting. I guess my question, Troy, you're a big Disney lover, like probably the biggest of all of us. Do you think Bob Iger can right the ship?
I mean, Bob Iger doesn't actually write the movies, and Bob Iger doesn't actually produce the movies, and there's stuff that's already in the can, in the works, prior to Bob Iger coming back. So unless he's going to do the, David Zaslav, take a completed movie and put it on the shelf and take the write-off, because it's actually going to make more money on a write-off than it is actually on the releasing it to the public, Spectrum, because they don't have to market it then. I think maybe, but part of the problem with Disney is that I think it's a couple things. Like I said, I think it's Disney Plus, because I'm like, I didn't get to see it opening weekend. If I don't see it opening weekend, I'll just wait. Right? Elemental was that for me. I probably know by now, like, I am a Pixar snob. I love going to the Pixar movies. I was on a cruise with these jokers, so I missed Elemental opening weekend. I waited till it came out on Disney Plus, because I didn't have to rush to go to the theater to see it, because I knew it was going to be there in 45, even 90 days. It doesn't matter. It's going to be there because I'm already paying well, now I'm paying $25.99 for the trio. Thanks, Bob Iger and new people coming on board on the board. But yeah, I think the streaming has definitely hurt the box office totals overall.
Absolutely.
And maybe even AMC Plus a little bit, right? Because you would think back to the $7 billion year of 2019 for Disney, like AMC Stubbs A-List, like shows up on the scene towards the middle to end of 2018. Like not a lot of people are on board with it yet, but by the time the pandemic came around, it's like now people are getting the AMC A-List. So because of that, maybe they're not making as much money per ticket as they used to in the past.
All right, so we've all heard by now that Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega exited Scream 7. I'm surprised Ghostface hasn't left at this point, honestly. And now there's speculation that Nev Campbell and Patrick Dempsey might be brought back in to juice up the franchise. If they're going to do that, just pay Nev. That's all I ask. But to clear things up, I do want to say Jenna Ortega was not returning before the actors even went on strike, so it's not raising a fist up for Melissa Barrera. It's just it didn't work out because her career is on fire. And she wasn't contracted for Scream 7, so she decided to move on. And she's got Wednesday and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, so if you didn't know, Melissa Barrera, basically, she's the whole situation is she's pro-Palestine, right? That's what got her terminated by Spyglass, who is the financier of the Scream series. And they essentially, hang on, I'll even read you this what they said. What they said, Spyglass's stance is unequivocally clear. We have zero tolerance for anti-Semitism or the incitement of hate in any form, including false references to genocide, ethnic cleansing, Holocaust distortion, or anything that flagrantly crosses the line into hate speech. To which Melissa Barrera said, as a Latina, a proud Mexicana, I feel a responsibility of having a platform that allows me the privilege of being heard, and therefore I have tried to use it to raise awareness about issues I care about and lend my voice to those in need. Every person on this earth, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status, deserve equal human rights, dignity, and, of course, freedom. She went on to say that she is not anti-Semitic in any way, shape, or form. So anyway, so there's chaos going on with this whole Scream franchise. Now, overall, I want to kind of discuss a couple things. The most important of which is, should an actor get fired for having, I guess, an ill-advised opinion? And what I mean by that is, right now, anyone that says anything pro-Palestine is basically canceled. Is that fair? Like, is that free speech? Or, should they lose their job over it? Or should we open up a conversation, which we've talked about before, but I'm kind of curious. Do you think she should have been fired here? Anybody want to go on the record?
No. No. Yes, go on the record. No, she should not have been fired. Just because you're pro-Palestine does not mean you're pro-Hamas. It does not mean you're anti-Jew. It just means you're like, there are other people in Palestine that live there that are caught in the middle of this horrific thing, and people are forgetting that there are actual people on the ground and children on the ground, right? I mean, there's much better ways to solve these conflicts. I don't know what they are because we've been trying to figure it out for a multitude of centuries, because this goes back even to Bible times in that region. But the fact that, she makes one thing a statement and then someone just has to jump on it because we can't have a dialogue anymore. Like no one said, hey, what did you mean by this?
That's the thing.
This is what I meant.
Yes, that's the thing that bugs me. Like at some point, shouldn't we open that up for a discussion? I mean, if she's young and if you're concerned that maybe she's not educated enough, whatever your stance is, or however you feel, shouldn't we open that up to, okay, well, let's discuss it. And I'm not saying mansplain it. Let's not show her what we mean. Like, let's hear her out and have an open discussion. Before you fire her, find out what she really meant. Because I looked through, I couldn't find anything, and there's nothing documented where I saw anything hateful that she said. Most of her media has basically alluding to, we're only seeing one side of the war. I don't think that's an unfair statement. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I don't want to see Hamas's. We've seen Hamas's side of the war. That's a whole nother conversation that we're not going to get into because it's just, I don't want any part of it, to hell with them. There are people there that have little to do with this. And I understand at least what she's saying. I'm not saying I agree with her, but I understand what she's saying. And I don't think there's anything wrong with opening up a conversation about it. But apparently we're in that spot, right? Where we can't have those conversations anymore. Like somebody turned this podcast off just because of that. I'm sure of it.
So playing devil's advocate.
Oh, Jesus, John. This is where we're going to get canceled.
This is where we're going to get canceled. If I wear, like right now, I'm wearing my work jacket because it is a little chilly, and my work jacket has my company logo on it. If I go out and I say a whole bunch of things, right, wrong, or indifferent, and somebody decides to videotape it, put it on the internet, and it starts catching fire, and it gets back to my company, and my company says, "Hey, we're catching too much smoke for what it is you said wearing our shirt. We're going to have to let you go." That's perfectly acceptable for them to do. It's well within their right as a company to be able to let me go for doing that. Much like if I commit a crime, we talk about these people a story where a guy did something called up another parent and chewed out this other parent who had an adopted daughter. The adopted daughter was of a different race. Said a whole bunch of things. The guy happened to record that conversation and shared it to the internet. And the guy who was doing something private, who wasn't representing the company that he was with in any way, shape, or form, he ended up losing his job, and everyone cheered it on. Like, all things being equal, her losing her job is understandable. Is it right? I don't know. I'm not here to say right or wrong, but it is understandable as somebody who's in that position. She's a representative for the company. She's a representative for the film, and she's a representative of the series as it stands. So it makes sense. It's understandable if they don't agree with what she's saying.
Here's where I'm coming from. Okay, so, and this is a true story, and I'll leave the names out to protect the innocent. But was having a conversation with someone young and was trying to kind of explain my understanding of that conflict over there from being alive for many years and unfortunately seeing this kind of thing happen over there many times, because they felt very strongly that Israel's the bad guy. Hey, people have their opinions. And I want to hear a discussion about, like, why do you think that? And tried to have a fair discussion. And basically, in having that discussion, the person got up, left, refused to even converse anymore. It's mind-boggling to me.
It's basically what's happened to America. America can't have a conversation anymore.
We can't have a conversation anymore because I didn't think that the person I was talking to was pro-Hamas. I didn't think that in any way, shape, or form. I thought I understood where they were coming from. I was just trying to understand if they understood the full scope of the dynamic, like hundreds and hundreds of years of things that go into these elements, that what goes into, like, the history that exists there, because it has gone on, since biblical times. But the point is like, you should be able to have those discussions without fear of repercussions, because if we can't have those discussions, if you shut everything like that down, isn't that bad for us as a people? Like, as a whole. I remember when this happened around 9/11. I remember this very clearly, that America was gung-ho to go into Iraq. And I remember being against it. And if I said I was against it, I was anti-American. I'm like, there's been no proof, man. We just want to bomb somebody. We just want to blame someone. That's really what it boiled down to. And if you didn't agree, you were kind of told to shut up. And I just don't think that's the right answer for anything. I think you have to, even if they're vehemently wrong, that's what free speech is supposed to be about, that you can have those conversations, because you can't have them over there. You really can't. That's the beauty of being here, is that we can have those discussions. And as soon as you leap to, you're going to lose your job for having a stance, and we don't even discuss it, we don't kind of peel the layers and get into it, I just don't think that's the right answer. And that's not the America that I believe I live in, I guess.
Well, to have a conversation, you have to have curiosity, right? And you have to care. And people just aren't curious anymore. People just don't want to have a conversation anymore. They want to just be right. Because that's being right is the important aspect. Being right is what matters the most. And if they can't be right, they will use the strongest weapon they have against another person, whether it be the internet or sharing something online or editing it to the nth degree, in which it's no longer it fits a narrative that you want it to fit. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. It just, whoever is right, it needs to be right. That's it.
I was trying to remember Simon Sinek. I can't remember if it's Sinek or Sinek. Sinek. has a great TED talk from like 14 years ago about how great leaders inspire action. And he actually talks about in that how, I think it's in that one where he talks about how America, everybody was like, World War II, come together. Like, we're going to do everything for the country. And then we got into the 50s and people started going to the, yeah, like I want to make some money and this is going to be awesome and prosperity. And then we got into the 60s and it was like, what about me? And then the 70s was like, what about me? And then 80s was, what about me and the corporations? And then it was like, screw the corporations. What about me? And it's always been about, we've gotten to what about me for a long time, that we're at that point now where we literally have a dysfunctional House of Representatives and we have red and blue and we have people that are like literally on trial for criminal stuff that's going to get a nomination. And we usually don't get political on this podcast, but that's the problem we're facing, is that people do not have conversations.
Sure.
They do not sit down and say, does this make sense? Does this have any kind of rooted in reality, conceptually things, right? We just want to be the loudest, the first, the fastest, the best. And it's just not how humanity is designed to be. We were designed to be in, let's all group together, because if we don't group together, we're all going to die by the dinosaurs or the wolves or whatever else is out there that's trying to kill us. And right now we're just killing ourselves.
Jurassic Park taught us that.
Yeah.
And life will find a way.
Right.
Yep.
And Jeff Goldblum, sexy somehow.
I agree with John. I agree with John's point of view, though. Like, if you're wearing a company logo, you have to remember, like, I'm wearing a company logo. I should be wary of what I'm saying because I could be filmed at any time, because there are literally cameras in almost every person's hand right now.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's annoying, isn't it?
So yes, like, is it right to have a free speech? Sure. Should you be doing it? Maybe second guess before you post sometimes. Maybe there's a different way to do it with a PR agency. You know?
Yeah, you know, the people keep on forgetting that freedom of speech does not mean that you get to go out and say whatever you want. It just means that the country cannot, the country or the government cannot punish you for saying it.
Right.
It says nothing about your neighbor. It says nothing about companies. It's just the government can't do that.
Don't get me wrong. If I thought if we saw proof that she was out there saying something anti-Jew or something really specifically hateful, which I couldn't find. If there is something, please feel free to send it to us, and I will correct myself in a future episode. But I haven't seen anything where this particular actress said anything hateful. If they're doing something like that, I understand this more. What it reads to me, what it seems to me, is she's concerned with the people that are not part of Hamas, or just the people living in that general area of Gaza and their livelihood. If that's what the main concern, I don't see how that's something that we can't have a conversation about. Like, that feels like something we should have a conversation about. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, and most companies would have some kind of, well, I don't want to call it a morality clause or whatever,
Sure,
but they definitely have
public companies
anti hate speech, anti-sexual harassment. Like, there are rules about like what we will and will not allow. So yes, if she was like purposely like Jews suck, then absolutely fire her for that, right? But again, like we said, we can't find anything where she said that.
Exactly. You know? Because that's hate speech. Like, I got no time for that. If somebody wants to have a conversation about that specific nuance, I think that's worthy of having a conversation, because I think that's where generations are separated in agreement. And maybe it's because they don't have a grasp of history. Maybe we're not looking at it from their point of view. You know, I think both parties need to have a conversation and listen to the other one before you start firing people and, you know, whatever else happens. That's just, it was an interesting conversation. I thought we should have that. And
then not only that, but now you're going to have to pay her out because she's under contract. So you're going to have to give her some kind of severance package to make this go away.
I'm sure there's a morality clause.
Pay 3 times as much money.
No, that I'm sure, like you said, they have a morality clause, and I'm sure that they have
They'll find a loophole in it to get out of it.
Yeah,
but they're going to have to pay Nev 3 times as much money to come back. So
yeah, let's segue. So how do they continue this franchise? What do you think? Pay Nev or make Kirby the lead?
Or just don't do it. It was fine.
They're going to do Scream is going to continue. This is not going to stop it. No, all the outrage on Twitter, which amounts to nothing, or X, whatever, which amounts to nothing really. That's not going to stop this movie, because there are plenty of horror fans that will love to see it that don't know anything about what we just talked about. They really don't pay attention to entertainment news. So I just don't.
But the first thing they're going to do when the marketing comes out is they're going to be like, "Where's Melissa Barrera? Where's Jenna Ortega?
I don't
Where's
think
all the
so.
people that I just
No,
watched
they're
the
not
last two
gonna
movies?"
care.
They're not going to care.
They're not going to care.
No. If you bring Nev back, number one, no offense to Jenna and Melissa, who did a wonderful job in those two movies, they will be forgotten very quickly because their story kind of ended in the sixth one. So it's not that big a deal. Plus, Nev Campbell has always been the star of this franchise. I even think you could go and just make Kirby the lead or start a whole new Scream spinoff and start it with new characters and just move on completely. I think you could easily do that because people, it doesn't have to have the legacy characters anymore. You can move on.
So what we're saying is let's make Scream, but let's make it Halloween. So now this is Jamie Lee Curtis coming back as Nev comes back, and it's like really the middle movies never happened, and it was really just the first movie the whole time.
Well, no, Nev
plus the last three.
Nev, she was given more to do. And plus, you have other characters in the Scream movies. I mean, you have Mindy and Chad, which are the other two, some that are friends with Sam and Tara in the series. So you could have them come back. Like, there's a lot of things you could do. There really are. You could pretend Stu never died. I don't know. It's a freaking, yeah.
That would be the best thing they could do.
I don't.
Just pretend Stu never died.
I don't know about that. And he's actually
Let's do that at Mystery
apologetic.
Camp somewhere.
He's been in jail the whole time. He gets out of jail, and then murders start happening, and he's got to prove it wasn't him. That would be interesting. Huh? This whole time Stu was actually alive, but he was in jail. He gets out of jail, and murders start happening, and they automatically assume it's Stu, and he's got to find the killer. Otherwise, they're going to blame him, and he's going back.
That's it. That's the movie right there. That's
it.
actually Scream 3.
Shut up. All right. Let's move on. By the way, if you're a fan of Patreon, you can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. You can help support the show. You get a lot of bonus content. We've got a Fast X bad movie night where we're going to just drive into that movie, just barrel into it full speed. It's
We're going
pretty
to
entertaining.
drive it right into the ground.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And we find out what Troy really thinks about Jason Momoa as Dante. It's not what you think.
He's not an Inferno, that's for sure.
Jesus Christ. Well, let's go to some spoiler-free reviews.
Our first one that we're going to review this week is around Disney's claim to fame, going back to its roots with a princess type character and a villain type character in a magical land in a kingdom far, far away. And that is Wish. Wish is trying to earn its heartstrings in the way it warmly references many of the studio's classics. But the nostalgia is no substitute for genuine storytelling magic, no matter how beautifully animated it might be. Aaron may think differently because Aaron was the one that was able to see it over the weekend. But for the most part, this seems like it was cookie cutter Disney, tries to do pretty good. It's exciting. It plays off of the Wish Upon a Star concept. But you're the one that saw it, Aaron. So does this work? Or is this like the last of pre-Bob Iger that we have to deal with?
I liked it. And, you know, I don't love animation, but I liked it quite a bit. I really hope it finds a following and sticks around and does that whole holiday thing where even though it didn't have a great Thanksgiving weekend, it keeps playing week after week all the way through Christmas. Asha's the character played by Ariana DeBose, who I love and adore. And, you know, she wishes on a star and she gets a lot more than she bargained for when she gets a little star, and she has to take down the king who basically holds everyone's wishes hostage, if you would. And the king is played by King Magnifico, is played by Chris Pine. This was just like a return to form. Like, it just felt like don't get me wrong, I don't understand how this movie cost $200 million because I feel like they used to make these really, really cheap a long time ago, but apparently animations I know it's a mix of CGI and whatnot, but they did Aladdin, seemed to be a lot cheaper, whatever. This movie cost a fortune. It doesn't look like it cost a fortune, but I like the look of it. It felt like old school Disney animation. It really looked like Little Mermaid and Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, those films, and had some of that old magic. The songs were fun. The characters were entertaining. There's a goat, and can you really ever go wrong with a talking goat? I don't think so. I enjoyed it.
Time for his new groove.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's the one thing that I thought was great. Throughout the movie, there are constant nods. Like, it's a love letter to Disney characters because there are constant nods to other Disney films and Disney characters. And as you find out what a character's wishes were, you'll see more future like Easter eggs to Disney films. And it's just like it's a very fascinating concept. And Chris Pine is magical as well. Like he just does a wonderful job as the villain. And all the characters are fun. They're just fun characters.
Do you feel like the story rushes it into it though? Like, it is only like the standard, kind of hour and a half runtime for an animated film. So do you feel like King Magnifico, like there's this like understanding that the kingdom is like this amazing place and everybody should come here? And does it feel like Magnifico goes into the I'm a bad guy super, super fast? Or do you like slow burn that he becomes the bad guy as the movie goes along?
Well, the idea is that each person, once they turn 18, gives Magnifico their wish, right? And then he collects that wish. And then he also grants certain wishes. And he uses those wishes to, what it does is it kind of, shows their obedience to him in some way, shape, or form. And everyone is just waiting on bated breath to have their wish granted. And once they give it to them, they don't remember what their wish is. So they kind of lose hope in many respects. So he is already kind of a villain. They just aren't. The people are very fooled by this charismatic ruler, and they don't realize what they're giving up. They think that there's a chance their wish gets granted, so why wouldn't they give it up? And then they forget what it is, so they lose the hope and aspirations to achieve it on their own. And that's really what the movie's about. I think it's a little quick, but all Disney movies are kind of quick, I feel like. So it doesn't feel any different from other animation movies. But it really felt like a return to form to me.
Now, Ariana and Chris are here, right? Alan Tudyk is also here, as well as Victor Garber.
Yeah.
Like, does the rest of the voice cast, like, can you tell it's Alan? Can you tell it's Victor? Do they do a good job getting into the voices of their characters?
Couldn't tell it was Alan. I thought it was Antonio Banderas for half the movie. So, nope, sure couldn't. But he's hilarious. He's great. The voice actors are all great. I really have a hard time finding a poor one in here, but Ariana DeBose and Chris Pine are the stars for sure. And the songs are wonderful. Chris Pine even has a song that he delivers wonderfully. I mean, Ariana DeBose can sing, but Chris Pine can carry a tune too.
Which we knew from Into the Woods, for sure.
Yep, he sure can. Yep.
And Dungeons and Dragons.
Are there songs though that we're going to have to like sing over and over and over again, or are we just going to let them go because they're not as memorable as some other songs?
I see what you did there.
What did he do there? I didn't see it.
He said, "Let it go."
Oh, Jesus Christ! I don't even want to respond at this point.
Are we singing some of these songs after the movie or not?
Yeah.
He's so frustrated that I called him out on it.
I think this wish, Ariana DeBose, that song is very good. Her and Magnifico sing that. The thanks I get is Magnifico's kind of solo, and I love that song. That was fun. That's one I would be singing again. That's about it. But I also didn't write them down, so.
Nah, I mean that's really what makes the good Disney film, right? You have that one song that you can always go back to, right? Especially if this is going back to the form of the Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast type of era, right? You got to have that one magical song. Otherwise, is it really a good Disney movie?
I agree. It's got to be memorable. You got to go back. And I think what makes a Disney animated film memorable is it has to have things for adults and kids. This has that. There are definitely characters and moments that play to both adults and children. It has to be more family friendly than adult themed. And this is the kind of movie if my kids were young, I would love to take them to. I had a really good time with it. We went with my wife and her niece, and her niece had a wonderful time with it. And she's bopping in her seat, like just the way I remember when my kids were young, going. And that's what you want from an animated Disney movie. You want something that you can talk to your kids afterward, and you both have good things to say about it, instead of, oh God, I gotta sit through this thing. Like Trolls, I feel like would not be that experience. It'd be like, I'll pick you up when it's over.
Any of the Trolls movies.
Yeah.
Memorable enough that you would part ways with your money if $10 was a full price of admission. Are you wishing upon a star, Aaron?
I would give it a solid $6.50. I really enjoyed it. That's high for me for an animated movie. Just so you know.
That's really high for an animated movie.
Yeah,
Aaron.
it's pretty high. Okay, another movie that I saw that is coming out on December 22nd in the U.S. and hopefully everywhere else soon thereafter, is American Fiction, which has the Jeffrey Wright, which we love from Westworld. And he's playing a novelist who's really fed up with the establishment, profiting from black entertainment, and decides to basically mock them. So he uses a pen name to write a book that is extremely racist by some respects, but also in his mind told from basically all the stereotypes that they could think of. And it propels him, ironically, to the heart of hypocrisy and the madness he claims to disdain, because he finally finds the success he's been trying for. He's written several books that have gone unnoticed, and then he decides to write a book called Fuck, and it really takes off because white people love it. It's wild. It's an interesting concept, a really, really clever concept. And it's written and directed by Cord Jefferson, and also Percival Everett also wrote this with Cord Jefferson. This is a new director on the scene. It's also about family dynamics. You have a very struggling family. Thelonious Monk Ellison, that's Jeffrey Wright. He has a sister, Lisa, who's played by Tracy Ellis Ross. And he has a brother, Clifford, who's played by Sterling K. Brown, who is jacked, by the way. Give him one of these superhero roles, for Christ's sake. And he also meets a new lady in his life, in Coraline, played by Erica Alexander. And what he's doing is he's struggling because he keeps telling people how arrogant they are whenever they have a struggle he doesn't agree with. He just feels like the world is not educated enough. People are just stuck on stereotypes and racist ticks, and he wants to get away. He wants to just be himself, and he just wants to speak to people as people, and he wants everyone to just accept who they are. And it's a really interesting film. And his mother is dealing with dementia, and his sister has some personal issues because she has to deal with his mother, and his brother has recently basically gone through a divorce and come out as gay. And Monk is having to deal with all of this, as well as this whole book concept, where he gets pissed one night and writes a book that is basically thuggish in his mind, and puts that book out, and it ends up becoming a monster hit, and he gets immediate success. And then he gets a movie deal, and everything just bam, bam, bam. And his agent, John Ortiz, who plays Arthur, he's just moving the money train along. And Adam Brody is here as a film director who's going to make this into the best movie ever. And yeah, the film deals with stereotypes and preconceptions and family dynamics. And it's a really unique film that I think stands on its own. We don't get enough of these. Like, it's funny, it's charming, it's dramatic. I think Jeffrey Wright gives a very powerful performance as Thelonious Monk. Everyone calls him Monk or Mr. Monk, and I kept thinking of the TV show Monk. So for half the movie, I'm like, is he going to solve a crime at some point? But he never solves a crime. And his brother, Sterling K. Brown, is a wonderful actor, and I think he is almost as powerful in his performance as Jeffrey Wright. He has several moments where you can see the pain on his face from having to basically bury who he was for most of his life. And now he's trying to live his best life, but he doesn't know how, And they deal with their alcoholic father and several other issues. And it's a very interesting, you have the backdrop of the whole book situation and how ridiculous it is that basically white people are celebrating the worst in black culture, basically, is how it looks, when Monk just wants people to read real literature, like real books. He's even offended that his books are in the African Studies section of a bookstore, because in his mind, they're not anything to do with African other than the fact that he's a black man. So I really like American Fiction. It should be coming out. I'm sure it's going to sweep several awards as it goes. And Jeffrey Wright being top of the list. It's just a really, really great movie. Issa Rae is in here too as an author who does a very similar book, but there's a lot more to her story as the movie goes. So American Fiction, definitely check it out when it hits. If $10 is the full price of admission, I give it $7.50. It's just a really, really clever, funny movie. And look forward to what Cord Jefferson does next, because he's got a talent for being unique. All right, now let's go to our From the Outside In topic, which, guess what?
Whoa, wait,
What?
wait.
I'm sorry.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. You guys got shit too, right? You saw stuff.
Yeah.
John allegedly saw things. Who knew?
I watched Monarch Legacy of Monsters. There's 3 episodes that have dropped.
4 by the time they hear this.
If you are wondering whether or not you should take a chance on this show or not, or what kind of investment you have to make to get into this show, honestly, if all you got to do is watch the first Godzilla movie and Kong Skull Island, and between those 2 movies, you can then get into this show because it takes place both. This show takes place both before and after those 2 movies. The one and only gripe that I have for this show so far is that there's a lot of time jumping, and the editing for the time jumping seems to happen in a way that kills a lot of momentum. And because something really big will happen and they kill the momentum in that moment, or something big will happen and they haven't earned that moment to happen. So that's my one and only gripe. But otherwise, the acting's phenomenal. The story looks great. It really is shaping up to be a great show. Thank you, Apple Plus, for saying that. Words I never thought I would ever say out loud.
And Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell play the same character decades apart, which is an awesome genius thing.
Yeah, absolutely genius stroke of move. There is another little show that I sat down and watched. And I watched it from episode 1 to the very last episode, and that would be One Ted Lasso.
Finally. Look at this.
Yes,
Troy, it's
I
just like,
finally
hey,
sat
welcome
down and
to
watched
3
it.
years ago.
Right. Well, you know
Like
what?
said,
I
you
gotta say this.
Just gotta believe, Aaron. Just gotta believe.
I gotta say, I mean, I really love the show. The show was great. There was a lot of moments in which I was laughing, crying. I was laughing and crying at the same time. It was just a beautiful show. So it really is all those things. I would say it's just below Schitt's Creek as far as its ability to have a lot of heart and a lot of meaning and a lot of enjoyment to it, and have just a massive amount of charm. However, if I would have started watching this show 3 years ago, I don't know if I would have lived to this moment.
Why?
Because I was going through the exact same bullshit he was going through.
Oh, I see. And you can't
Would have been too
compartmentalize.
close. Too close.
Hey, I understand.
It was way too close.
Sure.
So
you were leading a soccer team over in the UK?
yeah,
Wild.
I mean that's where I went to.
So do you remember he left Florida? We didn't know where he went.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
I could have been. I was recording from all sorts of different places. You should see my victory dance. It is stellar.
You're more of a Roy than Ted.
That's.
Well, it's really
I mean,
more
that's
of-
kind of a
It's
compliment.
really more of a tart.
Jamie Tarr, you just,
That's also kind of a compliment.
just a dick.
So, but yeah, it's a really great show. So I did finally sit down and watch it. I still won't give Cobra Kai the time of day, but this was really worth my time.
You're missing out.
Jesus.
You're missing out.
You gave
You're missing out. That show's fun. I'm not even going to bother telling you. It's a great show.
Aaron. Aaron.
Hmm.
No be here.
I'm going to rewatch the whole damn thing before the final season comes out. Ooh-ah.
Hell yeah. It is so good.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Troy, what about you? Did you watch anything over the holiday?
Yeah, I picked up another episode or 2 of Justified, so I think I'm at episode 5, so I'm making my way through. But I did pick up MGM Plus because I had some time off, and I binged the hell out of From season 2, which was fantastic and just ends on a most perfect note for From season 3 to actually get a green light, which it did. So if you're interested in a Lost like thing, John, that is actually working out right because Jack Bender is behind it. It's definitely a show worth watching. From is very, very good.
All right, what about the other show that's on there that stars Lena Headey?
I have not started that one yet.
You have failed this show.
I'm sorry. I immediately jumped over to the other thing that you would have appreciated, John, and I was watching Murder at the End of the World from our OA fans.
That is definitely in my back pocket. I'm really excited for that one.
And that's basically a Gen Z Sherlock Holmes, right? Essentially.
She's a writer who is writing from the perspective of the fact that she helped her dad, who was the county coroner. So she basically becomes like a true crime person. And through her own true crime efforts, she meets a guy. They end up finding the killer that they're investigating. And she writes a book about it. And because she writes a book about it, some Steve Jobs-like, Google-like character finds her because he's married to the hacker that she actually learned the hacking from, and they all go on this retreat in Iceland, and then shit happens. And I would call it what we like to now kindly say, it follows the Americans principle, where for 44 minutes you watch a show and go, oh my God, it is the slowest thing I've ever seen in the world. And then shit happens for the last 5 minutes that make you watch the next episode. So I can't say it's like super great at this point. We are on episode 4 at the time of this recording. Episode 5 might have dropped by the time you hear this. It's not bad, but it's not gripping like Silo or gripping like Invasion or gripping like Monarch. It's not bombastic. It's a very slow burn. Feels more like a Sharp Objects kind of show.
Okay.
There might be a good twist at the end, but you got to suffer through it to get to the twist.
Zal and Britt Marling together have created shows and movies like The OA, The East, Sound of My Voice, and Another Earth. And then, so as far as like what they put together, a lot of it is very much this ethereal, very heady sort of stuff. So it doesn't surprise me at all to see that it's a slow burn that waits until the last few minutes of an episode to make you want to watch the next episode. That doesn't surprise me at all, because that's what the OA was kind of like in the first few seasons. And by the end of the first season, you're like, all right, I got to stick with this, because there's going to be some crazy stuff going on. And it sounds like we might have that might happen here too. So I am excited to sit down and watch it.
But it also is more approachable, I think, than the OA. The OA, I think you're a certain type of, I don't know, science fiction type that would probably gravitate more towards the OA. This is more Aaron's murder mystery type kind of show.
Exactly why Aaron's interested in this one and couldn't give two rat's asses about the OA.
But good writing. The writing is good. The acting is good. It's just slow burn.
Slow burn. I like slow burn, though, so I would check that out.
Just, if it's a defending Jacob, I swear to God.
The ending
Sucked.
Anything else?
No, those are the two that I've been.
All
two
right.
and a half.
Well, I want to mention Gen V because this Boys spinoff came out late September. I was kind of avoiding it. I was really, honestly, superhero burned out. I was just superheroed out. I didn't feel like starting it. I didn't need another superhero thing. I just, and the Boys is getting too many spinoffs. I will say that because they just announced another, The Boys Mexico. I'm like, okay, now we're going around the world. We're going to have 27 of these things, whatever. But Gen V is about kids that were injected with the Gen V to be basically when they were babies by their parents to become superheroes. And they go off to this college. They go to God U to basically learn how to be a superhero and hopefully eventually get into the Seven, which is the main Justice League of the Boys, basically. And you follow this character who... Well, actually, there's several characters. It's really an ensemble. The whole thing's an ensemble, and it's really well done. I was pleasantly surprised. I was riveted. I started on episode 1 just thinking I'll be done by the time I hit the end of this, and I'll just move on to something else. I finished that baby out over Thanksgiving. I really had a great time. It's just insane, and there's some fun cameos, and it's just bonkers. It's bloody. It's funny. Her powers are tied into the main show of The Boys, which is really intriguing. So, I mean, they call her Bloody Mary, I think is her like superhero name. Once you see it, it'll make more sense. But man, it's really good. I was really surprised. So I would recommend Gen V on Prime Video. Also on Freevee, Bosch Legacy. Season 2 is out all the way now. Got through that the last couple weeks. Love that show. I'm so glad that Bosch Season 3 is coming. What's that?
No, I'm just excited for.
Excited. Oh.
I did. That was an ooh. I was excited. I forgot that was coming out. For season 2 was coming out for that.
Yeah, it's out, all out. So you can go watch all of it on Prime. Monarch, John already talked about. Fargo. If you haven't watched the new season of Fargo, it's really good. And hey, John, since you just watched Ted Lasso, Juno Temple is the star of this. John Hamm is the bad guy, and it's about this housewife who had a life before her current life. And things start going sideways. And if you've ever watched Fargo, you know that each season is self-contained, so you do not have to watch any of the previous seasons to watch the current one. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's the one thing that would make me interested in watching Fargo. Juno Temple is not one of those things.
Well, she's great in it, so you're missing out. She's wonderful.
Okay.
The only other thing I watched, I'm going to see how I can, because I'm embargoed. but I'm trying to reach for something that would explain.
You can't. Don't even play with the line.
Yeah, I'm not even going to play.
Don't even play with it.
But it's great. All right, moving on.
It's so good. It is so good. No, I'm not embargoed.
Outside in topic. All right. So this is just listener questions because we're coming up on the end of the year. We've got one more episode next week. Will be our holiday spirit movie battle royale, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then after that, we're just going to have a little episode to kind of close out the year, and we'll be back in January after that. But if you're on Patreon, you get bonus stuff. So go there. But we wanted to answer some listener questions. We normally do Patreon questions for listeners each month or every other month, something along those lines, where we say, hey, if you support us on Patreon, you can ask us anything you want. And we'll still do that. We'll still have a Patreon special listener question. This is for every listener to ask whatever they want. Ty Nelson has been
is the Patreon one where we do it without pants on?
Yes. Yep, that's the one. Yep. Okay. Sorry if you didn't know that. But maybe that's worth your money. I don't know.
Or, we could just move it over to OnlyFans. We could go that route.
No, my OnlyFans is already kind of full.
Yeah.
I got stuff planned. Schedule's full.
Well, you got to pay for those subscriptions somehow.
It's true.
They pay me to put my pants back on OnlyFans.
It's true. I didn't mean it was my OnlyFans. I just meant my subscriptions were full. All right. So Ty Nelson, he's been a loyal Patreon supporter for years, and he's got a couple things he wants to go. But the first one that he wants to talk about is pro wrestling, because we never talk about it on a show. And I think, like, why isn't there more pro wrestling in films or films starring pro wrestlers? Like, why is pro wrestling not really done much in movies? What do you think? And what do you think about the sport, I guess? Like, did you guys watch this? I watched it when I was younger. My brother loves it. I kind of grew out of it, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think you grow out of it. I don't know what demographic right now is targeted to pro wrestling, but man, like the 80s, 90s, right? Hogan and Andre the Giant and Randy Macho Man Savage and Ultimate Warrior and
John Cena, The
Stone
Rock,
Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. Yeah, it's like those.
Now you're just naming people.
Were they like those, like the heyday, right?
Yeah,
the Twin Towers, right? The Undertaker, Big Boss Man, the Jim, McMahon, right? All of that stuff is just, there was a time and place for it, I think, and it just, everything like wanes, and then I think it comes back. And I think the problem was that the WWE turned into WWF, turned into WWE. I think ended up going against the Ultimate Fighting, right? UFC. And I think people gravitated towards UFC. So wrestling wasn't so much the hot ticket anymore. It was more UFC because UFC's got blood. I can get to kick people and punch people.
It's real.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really what it was. It's like wrestling isn't enough in the zeitgeist for us to make a movie that will actually make money. I think is really what the challenge is. Unless you're going to do something like, I'm totally going to forget the name of the movie. The one where the
Fighting with My Family was really good.
Yeah. And then there was the one with the kid, and the kid, I think he had like some kind of developmental disability, and it was like in the backwoods, and he always wanted to like be a wrestler.
Oh, the Peanut Butter Falcon.
The Peanut Butter Falcon. Yeah.
God, that was so good. Yeah.
That was such a good movie, right? Like those types of movies I think work because it's like about the fans of wrestling. A movie about wrestling, I don't think that would work so well.
Well, I mean, the Iron Claw's coming out. That's supposed to be pretty fantastic. So I think it can work. Look, there's definitely still a lot of fans. Like WWE is still huge. People watch it pretty regularly. They sell out arenas. I mean, it's still very popular entertainment. I think it did thin out. I think UFC has taken over in terms of the excitement and fighting, and it's still popular, but I think it's more meant for younger fans these days. It's just, I don't think the appeal is as strong as it once was. But I always admire those guys because, people always say, well, it's fake. It's fake. Well, it's fake, but they take a toll, man. They're still doing the physical acts. I mean, they might not be pummeling them as hard as you think they are, but they're still getting pummeled. And it's a hard thing for them to do. And it's really impressive. If you ever go and watch like behind the scenes or practices and things like that, they have to master how it's almost like a stuntman. Well, it is essentially a stuntman, right? they have to master how close can they get to inflicting severe pain without doing it. And sometimes they're going to miss, and it's going to connect, and it's going to be even more painful. But it's still painful no matter what, even when they do it perfect. I mean, so it's very impressive what they do. I just don't know if in this day and age, people are so obsessed with this is fake, that's fake, this is fake, that's fake. I think they want to see real more.
I don't know if we've gotten anywhere near answering the question yet, but it's hard to make a movie about something that's already entertainment. Unless you're going to tell either the backstory of something, or if you're going to tell, or if you're going to poke fun out of it. There's a lot of different reasons why it's not as big as in the movie era as it once was, because there was a little while there where you had superstars like Hulk Hogan who were in movies, and they were doing a lot of things with movies to draw more attention back to wrestling. So I just, it's as popular as it is. It's never going to be, watching a movie about wrestling is never going to be as popular as watching actual wrestling. It's the same reason as to why we don't have an oceans full of football movies out there, or oceans full of baseball movies. Do they have some? Yeah. Are some great? Yeah. But sometimes watching the real thing is better than watching a movie about it.
All right.
And it belongs in an arena. Really, at the end of the day, it's already got an entertainment platform. It doesn't need to be in the movies. I mean, then you're talking, it's like Taylor Swift, the concert movie, but WWE, the concert movie. It's like, it's already in an arena, and the arena makes enough money.
Oh, well, there you go. That's another.
Oh, Taylor Swift,
another great thing to do.
Goes to a wrestling arena and actually, wrestles. I think that would probably get a lot of people to watch.
Yep. Her against the Big Show. I'm in.
The amount of stomping and stuff she does with those boots during the show itself. Yeah.
Let's do it.
She's like 8 feet tall. I think she could do all right.
She's doing wonders. Stuart Bannerman, with so many shows you've done over the years, I know that feeling. I've just crossed the 700 mark for mine. Congratulations yourself. What are some of your standout moments from the entire run that you've been on? That's a question for each of the hosts. So I'll answer for Amanda since she can't be here. That would be going to South by Southwest with me. Duh.
It's a true statement.
That is hers, though.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I should say, specifically seeing Long Shot at South by Southwest with Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen and me, and then Boyz II Men did an impromptu concert.
For me, it's going to have to be the very first Ho Cruise, and that episode we recorded while doing the Ho Cruise is the most standout moment. And the second one would be the first time I visited you guys in Chicago, and we recorded that live reaction show to
Wonder Woman,
Thor Ragnarok.
Was it Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah, it was Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, shit. Okay, I got the movie wrong, but I remember, kind of. I gotta go listen to that episode.
You, me, and Scotty recorded a full episode, and Scotty and I did we cheersed each other in the middle of recording, and you were so annoyed with us.
I remember that. Okay, now I remember that. Yep.
Yep.
I remember that very clearly. Troy.
I mean, there's a whole podcast. It was like an hour and 15 minutes. Aaron could put a link to it where I talked about all of the stand-up moments up to that certain point. So I mean, I don't have that kind of time. But the fast version is the first time I got an actor to respond to me on Twitter, which led to ABC calling me to interview the entire cast of Resurrection when we did that podcast. That was pretty awesome, the first season, minus Omar Epps and Kurtwood Smith, but everybody else we got to talk to, which then led to us being able to talk to the creator, which led to us being able to talk to the writer, which basically set us up to be able to do things on the blacklist that we were able to do. So getting to meet John, having the crazy theory, which got us in the door, which you can hear, which you heard right in the last episode or episode before with the Daniel Knopf interview. Yep. Being on set for the Blacklist, getting to do the DVD behind the scenes stuff for the Blacklist. I mean, there's all kinds of like really amazing people.
You were in the DVDs twice. The first year,
twice.
You did everything you could to exclude me, but the second year, you're like, fine, he's gonna bitch if I don't bring him along.
That's true. And I had to share a bed with him too for that one.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I think the people, like the amount of people that I've met in the last 10 years plus of podcasting, I think is really what it comes down to. Like I truly feel like at this point I could like find a couch to crash on in the entire 50 states. and a lot of places in Europe and a couple in Australia, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
As well. Like those, I mean, you never met him in person, but like, and it's funny, like I met a guy by the name of, totally going to escape me now because I'm really bad at names lately. Rick Moyer from Moyer Multimedia lives out in Grays Harbor, Seattle area. I've known Rick for 10 years. And just last year, I was able to meet him for the first time in person. Like that, meeting him for the first, like seeing each other face to face in real life for the first time, that's like a highlight. To be like, you're a friend of your friends for 10 years, sharing deep personal shit, and then you never actually met in person. Like that's what podcasting, it connects people. I think that's really the big highlight. Well, met Aaron through podcasting.
That's true. Actually, fun story. Justin McCumber, former host, he's no longer with us. He passed away. But he and I wanted to go to TV Talk, which was a startup where they were paying, established podcast hosts to come over and talk about TV for
a crap ton of money for no time.
We got paid a lot of money to just talk about what we already were doing. It was great. Unfortunately, it didn't last that long. But I met Troy through that, and that's how I ended up being part of the Blacklist, which led to all the exciting stuff Troy's already talked about. Being on set of the Blacklist for the 100th episode and meeting the entire cast and having Megan Boone come up and just give us big hugs and take us behind the scenes and meet Andrew McCarthy. All that happened in one day. Like that was one afternoon. That was a pretty phenomenal experience that I'll never ever forget. Especially
actually talking to James Spader.
Actually talking to Jane Spader, having Jane Spader, because I was tripping over myself. I was so excited, and he calmed me and had me reset basically. And I don't remember exactly what he said. I think it's in the interview on the Blacklist episode 100. He was just basically, is that the question you want to ask, or something along those lines? But he basically like, try it again. Basically what I have to do with John most of the time. Try again. You're tripping all over yourself. Try it again. And then it was fine. It was a good interview, but that was just a really cool experience. Going to the first awards event, I lost, but it was very cool to just be nominated for an award, and it was in Vegas, and it was a pretty fun time. Got to meet Penn Jillette.
That was your first year on the show that year too. We got that award 10 episodes in.
What award?
The one we got nominated for Vegas. We were only 10 episodes into season 2 that got us the nomination.
Well, no, I'm talking about, this is the Hollywood Outsider. This was actually the year.
Oh, that
year
one.
before.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first
year
one.
before.
It was just, I think, me and Scott that year, I think. And we got to meet Penn Jillette and just randomly, I mean, we went to a show and he was just hanging out afterward, and we just, we ended up BSing with him for a while. That was pretty cool experience. Winning the award with Troy, that was amazing because it was the same day we did the DVDs, and we went to we were invited to the Paramount lot to meet the writers for the Blacklist and some other stuff, and we also won Best Podcast that year. Same year, the Hollywood Outsider won, so it was like a pretty exciting year, and I'm still one ahead of Troy. That makes me happy. So I've got 2, he's got 1. He wasn't on the Hollywood Outsider yet. What? Let's see.
That's that I'll never forget. That was when you guys took the pictures with the guys from
Goldberg.
What's that show?
The JTP.
Goldbergs. Yeah,
and
I'm like, Aaron has no idea who those. Aaron has no idea who these guys are.
No idea, none. And Troy is so excited, and he went, "Let's get a picture." And I'm like, "Do I have to be in this?" But okay.
And we almost missed the moment too because I could not remember Matt Bradley's name to save my life. And I'm like, that guy looks like that guy from that show. And we just kind of kept on walking. Like they were on our left, we were on the right. Mm-hmm. And then finally I just went JTP, and they listened JTP. And then we turned around and took pictures. It was awesome.
That's crazy. I still don't know who they are, but we also got a picture next to the Breaking Bad, van or something like that. That was pretty cool.
The camper.
Yep. The camper. Sorry. Camper. Van. Jesus, Aaron. Losing my train of thoughts. Going to South by Southwest with Brian and having our Westworld experience. I've talked about
so
that
jealous.
Previous podcasts, but yeah, I was so in that whole day, because we got so drunk and we ended up going somehow to a movie, and then we ended up at a premiere party because of all of everything that we had did that day, and we were so drunk and just didn't care anymore, and we got invited to the premiere party, which for American animals, which was crazy. So that was a wonderful experience going to South by with Amanda and that whole long shot experience. That was a lot of fun. I went to the Veronica Mars movie premiere, so that was pretty cool. There's been a lot of stuff, man. I could honestly go on and on. Overall, it's just, I don't know when it ends. I'm sure it'll end soonish. I don't know when it'll end. Next year, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know what the number is. I say every year, this is the last year, and I keep going.
After this episode, actually, because, of the stuff we had at the top of the show.
could be, this could be the one that gets me canceled. Yeah, but no, it's so many experiences. I will say of recent years, the second Ho cruise that we just took, which we're going to probably do another one, hopefully in 2025. No matter what happens with the podcast, we're definitely going to try another one in 2025. But we had 50 or 60 people on the boat together or more. I don't even remember the number, but it was up there. Gathering for a special event. And it was just a lot of fun. It was just a crazy time, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Really loved that.
Yep. Very, very special. Okay. So Jennifer Miller, what movie in recent years surprised you the most and why? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take the lead on this one because this one, the only one that really rings any true for this question for me, I'd have to say, is It Follows. I went in expecting something completely different than what I got, and being able to enjoy it to a higher level than I did. And I walked out of there kind of angry at myself for watching this movie. I was surprised because it was something that I wanted to see because I had heard nothing but great things about. And throughout the years, as far as in the podcasting and reviewing community, and I did not get what it is that they saw that I was not seeing.
Just sad the ending was so weak on that one, my opinion.
Yeah.
I guess it sounds cliche, and I'm going to say this, but Oppenheimer?
What about the movie that's based on history surprised you?
What surprised me was how I felt. So the movie goes along. Obviously, it's two movies in one, like we talked about. First movie is the atomic test, right? And then the second is the Atomic Commission. Mm-hmm. When you get to the middle and the atomic test goes off, and just the way it in IMAX, it was just the cloud, the smoke, no sound, silent. You just sat there and just watched this happen. In that moment is probably the first time in all the times that we've been, because remember, we grew up in the 80s, which I think I put in the review, right? The Day After and Manhattan Project. And you just constantly bombarded about the atomic bomb and what could happen in nuclear war. And it was the first time in that moment that I just went, holy shit, what did we do to those poor Japanese people? Mm-hmm. And the wave of emotion and sadness and disgust, and I felt awful. And I was not there. I wasn't live. I just felt awful. And I was surprised at I'm getting weepy now thinking about it. Just that emotional wave that came over as that fireball is just kind of coming to it and coming closer and coming closer. And it was just, I was surprised that that's where it went. That it literally had one visual, no sound, had that much emotional impact.
It's good. I'd probably go with Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, it's a good one too. That was the other one I was toying around in my head.
That's a movie. Taika Waititi, his humor can go either way for me. And, mixing a very, very serious movie about a kid who's basically a fan of Hitler and has Hitler as an imaginary friend, and making this a very just moving, sweepingly beautiful film with a lot of humor was just, I thought, a very, very surprising feat. And he plays Hitler, and of course, that part's bonkers. But Scarlett Johansson is just fantastic in the movie. And there's a moment, which I won't ruin in case somebody hasn't seen it and really wants to check it out, but what happens, this little boy, he basically, again, he's going to basically Hitler training camp, and comes home and finds out his mom is hiding a young girl in his own house, and he has to wrestle with what does he do. And then he's basically maturing as we watch him. and then something happens to his mother, and it's just the way that it happens, and the way that it's shot, and the way that it's staged was one of the most powerful moments in film of recent years for me. It really punched me in the gut. Like, just punched me in the gut. I'm sure I don't know if John saw it, but I know, Troy, you know what I'm talking about. It's just it's a powerful.
No, I saw it. It's a powerful and wonderful movie.
Yeah. So there we go. Nate Bruce, what's the earliest, latest that each of you has been to an episode taping? I'm always usually right on time, but so earliest, I don't know. Latest, not usually that late. So I don't know.
I think Aaron and I are plus and minus 2 minutes.
Yeah.
John's usually the early bird.
Yep. John's usually the earliest. Amanda, you can guess.
Mm-hmm.
If you've listened to any amount of episodes, you can probably guess where she fits.
Right.
She's been hours late.
Yes.
she's been weeks late.
She's been weeks late. John's never late. I can't even think of a time when John was late. If Troy's late, it's like a few minutes. And if I'm late, it's a couple minutes, but I'm usually not late.
Yeah. Or the other way to answer your question, because none of us were really sure exactly what kind of question you were asking.
Yeah, you mean like what time do we record or something?
Yeah, like the earliest I think we've recorded was 8 a.m. once, for me at least, and the latest we've been recording till, for me, was 11:30 once.
I think Aaron and I beat that. I think we did 5:45 a.m. on a Friday one time.
Yeah, well, we did that pretty regularly for Blacklist for a while. And we've done, I don't know how many times. Remember when we did Westworld right after it aired and stuff, and it went to like midnight?
Yep. I've been on the mic till about 1 a.m. when I used to do 3 podcasts in one evening, because I was just like, well, I'm already doing this, might as well do them all. I was tired on Wednesdays.
Yeah. It makes it hard to
paid. We were getting paid at that point, so it was worth it.
That's true. I remember I was like taking more. I'm like, I'll do more shows. Do you want to do Hawaii Five-0? Sure. Who doesn't love to talk about Hawaii Five-0? There's nothing to talk about in Hawaii Five-0. Like, nothing happens in those fucking shows. I love them, but nothing happened. Yeah, but you're getting paid. It was nice. Chris Fid, did John enjoy David Tennant back as the Doctor? Someone else asked.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Also, who was it? Lord of Juicebox has also asked. They wanted to hear John's opinion on the Doctor from the Who 60th anniversary special episode. So we'll wrap those all into one. Troy or John, do you have anything?
Yeah. I love the idea and the concept of David Tennant being back and how they're going to explain the story. Did I sit down and watch it over the holiday weekend? No, I was too busy getting caught up with that show Ted Lasso,
and Monarch.
I am disappointed in what I'm seeing, though, about about a lot of the chatter when it comes to the David Tennant episode, because it's obvious that a lot of people, to me, do not know what Doctor Who is all about, which Doctor Who is about inclusivity, Doctor Who is about loving people, looking for the best in situations, never giving up, always trying to be better than yourself and be a better person than you were yesterday. Like, these are all concepts that Doctor Who has always been about. And I just want to say that it saddens me to see that people have forgotten that.
Also, Chris says, will Troy ever live up to a bet? Hey, he's living up. He's catching up on Justified.
Slowly but surely. I can't do the other one until Aaron tells me what I have to watch.
That's true. I haven't decided on the movie he's got to watch yet. What do you ask? Has Aaron watched Usher yet? I assume you mean The Fall of the House of Usher, not like an Usher documentary?
Yeah, he's actually got an Usher poster in his bathroom.
That'd be sweet.
I can see Usher behind him right now.
Usher? What? What?
Yeah, that's what people call him sometimes.
I don't
Usher.
think anyone does that. Have I seen The Fall of the House of Usher? The answer is yes. It's a fantastic show. Michael Flanagan did a wonderful job with it. And Carla Gugino is a talent and a force and still beautiful. So she hits all fronts. It's a really good show. And I like how they did the episodes. They really spaced it out. It's very, very great. It's on Netflix if you haven't seen it. He also asks, when I renew my Patreon, will my show topic be done? Well, if you pick the right tier, Chris, sure will. Got to pick the right tier. I don't remember which tier it is, but it's one of them. But yeah.
Yeah, you can figure it out. You can play with the tiers.
What's the topic, Chris?
Yeah, tell us the topic. I asked him specifically; he didn't have it yet. So, yeah, you renew it. We'll do a topic. We always do it in our own form, though, so you don't get to spell out exactly how it goes. But we'll include your topic absolutely. Because otherwise, people be like, "Talk about OnlyFans," and you can only do that for so long before John's bank account gets drained. So, Ty Nelson, he's got a couple more. Favorite Muppet and why? John, this is obviously meant towards you.
Yes, favorite Muppet, Animal! For obvious reasons. Animal is just a creature of pure joy, pure happiness. 100% does what he wants to do, and if you piss him off, he will beat you. But yes, Animal.
Troy, do you have a favorite Muppet?
I'm a lead, and I'm also anxious. So, hey ho, everything wrong here. Why are there so many songs about rainbows?
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's not bad at all.
I'll go with Luck Dragon because I like children.
Is that a Muppet or a puppet?
I don't care.
He's
Or an
just a
animat-
puppet.
or an
He's not a
animatronic.
Muppet.
I don't care. He's creepy as hell. That's all I'm saying. I just need to point out how creepy that freaking guy is. All right. Favorite game show and why? Troy, this feels like your kind of category. You go first.
Dang. Do the reality competition shows? I'm
It's a game
still
show.
watching Survivor. So I have a Survivor buff. I'm trying to get to a Survivor after party with a buddy of mine in the spring. So Survivor's probably up there. But classic game shows. I'm still a Bob Barker Price is Right. I love that show. I watch it religiously.
Okay. Johnny?
I would say traditional game show Jeopardy was always one of my favorites. I just enjoyed every aspect of that show. It seems like something that challenged people on a deeper level than a lot of game shows did. But on a non-traditional standard, as in something that's kind of sort of like a more reality-based game show, I'd have to say Face Off, which just dropped 2 seasons on Netflix, which is season 4 and season 5, which are two of the better seasons of Face Off. Not that the other seasons aren't great also, but the stuff that comes out of season 4 and season 5 are pretty phenomenal. So as far as like a creative edge goes, Face Off.
Remote Control from MTV. Just kidding. Although
Oh man, I was about to cheer you on because I forgot about that one.
I like that show a lot. Was it Ken Ober? Ken Ober? Was that his name? I don't know. Anyway.
Ken Overman.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's somebody else.
He was from SportsCenter.
Was that his name? Yeah. I'm thinking of the wrong guy. Anyway, whatever his name. I did like Remote Control a lot. Adam Sandler was on that, right? I think so. Anyway. Favorite game show. I'm going to go reality too. And this is the only reality show I ever watch. But I love it. And Jeopardy's the easy one because I like to watch game shows where I don't feel stupid. I feel like I'm learning something at some point. But Alone on the History Channel.
I knew that's where he was going.
Yeah.
I knew that's where he was going.
I absolutely love Alone. It's just, I'm an avid backpacker. I like to be out in the woods. And it's amazing to me to see how prepared some of these people are and how not prepared some of these people are, because there are people that leave like 2 days. Basically what it is you get 10 people, you drop them in the middle of the woods, they get 10 items they bring along with them, and they are on their own. And whoever survives the longest, and the conditions get very, very harsh, and it's real. It's not like scripted reality. It's like a real reality show. Whoever lasts the longest is the winner. Essentially, you can go 100 days, you can go longer. Whoever goes the longest wins, and they will pull you if it's a health concern or something like that. It's just really riveting TV because I've been in several of those environments and I know how much of a struggle it can be. And I've raised the flag pretty quick a couple times. So some of these people are really impressed me. Some of them are complete idiots. It's fun to watch. I definitely recommend. You can find it streaming all over the place. It's on Hulu. It's on Netflix, but Alone. If you haven't seen it, it's great. Also, his last.
It's Ken Ober. You're right.
What's that?
You're right. It's Ken Ober, not Ken Overman. Ken Overman was somebody else.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Hey, I'd be better on Jeopardy than you. Ty Nelson, how late is too late? This is the last question. And I don't know. It really depends on what you're doing, man. Like, if you're partying, you can go all night long. If you got to work the next day, then, 11 or 12. Really depends. And if I've had a long week, 9:30.
12 is pretty much the cutoff. Partying or not, like
ha-
12 is just hard. Anything past 12 is hard for me.
Well, at our age. 10 years
Even
ago.
any
I mean,
age.
if
I used to do
I-
morning radio, so I think at any age, I think 12 was hard. I mean, I could stay up late, but
Man, we did.
I need to be.
we,
It's not so much about what's too late. It's that I need 6 hours of sleep. So if I can make the 6 hours happen, like I could stay up till 2, as long as I know I don't have to get my ass out of bed until 8 o'clock.
we did a bar crawl on the cruise, and which was a lot of fun. The last whole cruise, we had a whole bar crawl. We hit every single bar on the ship that was open.
Mhm.
And even then, it was like getting to, I think, 10 or 10:30. I'm like, whoa, this is getting late. Like I'm 86 years old.
It
That's
was.
pretty sad.
I start winding down for bed about 9:30. That means I'm taking the dogs out for the last walk, and then I'm getting cleaned up for bed, and then I'm usually trying to be in bed by like 10:30 so that I can sit there and doom scroll on my phone for an hour. If I'm on vacation, I can go as much as I want as long as I'm not sick. Because that's one thing on the whole cruise that killed me was that by day 4 or 5, I got pretty sick. So bar crawl was not happening for me.
You were sick coming on the boat.
Well, I had like a crazy allergy thing going on. Yeah, crazy sinus headache when I got on the boat. And then somebody gave me some sinus Advil and it changed my entire life. So ever since then, anytime I get like a headache that looks anything like that, I take that sinus Advil and I'm like, oh, yes. But yeah, but it's yeah.
All right. The 2 left and we're done. Horribly Awkward podcast asked, what do you think the dating life of an actor is who is looking for love? Do they have to stick to dating other actors who are at a similar level, or can they date a civilian and never know if it's just because of their status or fame? Who can be trusted? I love this question.
Nobody, because they're looking in all the wrong places.
Just trying to jam it in. Just had to try to jam it in.
That's
Just in Air's face.
Troy,
Air like paused for a second, and then he was like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah,
Troy Jamadin Heinritz.
that's your hashtag.
You miss all the shots you don't take, John.
I think I would hate to be an actor in some ways. I don't like fame. I've never liked the concept or idea of fame. I just don't have any desire to be adored by all. Just a few is fine. But the idea of, if you're famous, you officially can no longer trust that anyone is with you because of who you are. I think I will put it this way. Okay. So just to put it in perspective, when Troy and I think I've told this before, but when Troy and I, we went to the awards banquet, right? In LA for our podcast award for Blacklist several years ago. The whole time we were there, and this is 2 days, right? We were there for 2 days, something like that.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah. Everywhere we went, everyone loved us, right? The nicest things you could ever, and I'm a very humble guy. Troy is less so, but I'm a very humble guy. But everywhere we went, people are just saying the nicest things. They were celebrating us, like, and when we won the award, it like doubled up. Because we went to, the Paramount lot with the Blacklist writers. They were wonderful to us. Like all we did was have smoke blown up our ass for 2 days. We were the best thing on the world for 2 days. By the time I got home, I can't understand why no one else loves me this much anymore. Like, what did I do? What did I do? No, I'm Aaron. Do you know who I am? I mean, and that was 2 days. So if you have it 24 hours a day for a year or 2 years or 10 years or 20 years, or you're Tom Hanks, you've had it forever, I don't know how anything seems rational anymore and how you can trust anyone. You have to have your select group that knew you before to bring you back to earth. That's what I think. Nearly impossible.
God, I don't know how to put a better spin on it than that. I mean, yeah, I would assume that there's just I would assume that you just go ahead and go to a different country and make sure that it's a country that doesn't show your movies or whatever, to find somebody that is worthwhile and or isn't going to like leave you at a drop of a hat. So,
and
if you're still acting, it's all PR.
Sure. Yeah.
You're dating and hooking up with the people that are going to help the brand for both of you. It's like a contractual thing. 4 years into it, you break up because the contractual PR thing is no longer needed. yeah, you're looking for love when you're done acting. I think is really what it comes down to.
I'll tell you what I know for certain. If I were famous and rich and I got married or fell in love and got married, the prenup would be stupendous.
Ironclad.
Right.
Yeah. There would
Right.
be no wiggle room in that bad boy. Because
It'd be the same thing if you won the lottery, though. If you won the lottery and let people know about it, you can't trust a single thing about
True.
anybody.
Yeah. There are people that go in hiding when they win the lottery. How crazy is that? Because people you never met were like, hey, man, you got 10 grand you can loan me? Sure, cousin, I don't know.
Right. I would not say a damn word to a single person, but there would be hints.
Ken from Chicago, he wants to know, Matthew Perry passed away quite a little while ago, and the delayed Emmy Awards are going to air in a couple months. Should he be first or last? And if first, who should be last? And if last, who should be first? Jesus. How about we just put him first and last?
How about we do
I'm thinking of, who all died. That's really the first question.
everybody? Just about everybody has died this year.
Okay, that is the dumbest answer that you could have come up with. I'm going to put Treat Williams first, Tina Turner in the middle, and Jerry Springer at the end, and then Matthew Perry somewhere in the middle. But Jim Brown's got to be in there too. And Lance Reddick.
Don't forget Richard Mole.
Richard Mall.
Richard Roundtree,
Richard Mole, Lance Reddick.
Roundtree.
Suzanne Summers.
You got to have Richard Roundtree last so somebody goes, shh, he's a bad mother.
Yep. So many.
I told you, everybody.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, actually.
Michael Gambon, probably first, just because everybody will recognize Dumbledore.
Everybody will recognize Dumbledore.
For the most part, yeah.
People that have had a lot of sex. Sorry.
Aaron, I mean, I know I know that we're Generation X, but the generations under us bang nerds like crazy.
I'm just kidding. Sorry. Sorry. I couldn't help it. Dude, I'm a nerd.
I know
Shut up. Shut up. It doesn't make the joke less funny. It just doesn't.
I mean, Bob Barker would be last.
Even if it don't mean it and it makes no
Barker.
sense, it's still funny. Bob Barker's awesome.
Bob Barker would be last, and it would end with make sure you have your pet spayed or neutered.
What?
That was his whole thing.
That was his whole sign off at the end of the show.
Oh, I thought it'd be The Price is Wrong, bitch.
For an AI Emmys, probably.
Oh, no, there was one more question. Oh, thank God. We don't want to end on death. That's just negative. Kyle Nolan.
Yeah.
So many people died this year.
And by the way, all nerds are having sex now. I understand this, John. Don't try to point a finger at me. It was just a joke. God damn it.
Don't say all nerds. I'm not having sex.
Okay. Everybody else. Everybody but you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in Generation X where they look at me and they're like, the rest of the Generation Xers are like, no, bro, you're a nerd. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm the wrong generation.
That's right.
Man.
Paul Rubens passed away. We went past your sad sex
and
life.
Tony Bennett.
Was he still alive even?
All right, Kyle Nolan. When studios run out of ideas, do you prefer reboots, revivals, or remakes? I prefer remakes because they can do it different.
I just want a good goddamn story. I don't care who you're puppeting around the screen.
I'm thinking in terms of video games. A remake is like I actually changed the base code into something better versus a remaster is like the old code. Probably a remake. Like there's when we did a whole podcast called Remake This Movie Right. So yeah.
True.
Take the same concept but just do it a little different.
More fun. It's definitely more fun. Reboots and revivals are kind of the same thing. I just have a hard the nostalgia thing is gonna wear it, just like comic books, right? Comic book heroes.
No,
it's gonna wear thin.
I think reboot is like female Ghostbusters. Revival is Ghostbusters Afterlife because it's in the same universe.
Okay.
But remake is like something totally different.
Here's what I would say. The first two don't require nostalgia. Remake, you can make it your own thing. You can do Clue and it's a serious murder mystery, right? It can stand on its own. Whereas if you're a reboot or a revival, however you interpret those, you're going to try to recapture some flavor of the original film or
Right.
series.
A remake is Winnie the Pooh, Five Nights at Freddy's style.
I would watch that for sure.
It's been made.
It's been made.
Oh, the Blood and Honey, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
It looks horrible though. That looks like a bad movie. Ugh. All right. Well, on that dour note, I guess we should have ended on death. Jesus. Okay. Well, shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much
Toads.
better than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Jesus.
We're doing it all wrong, man. We're doing it all wrong. Hey, we're on thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Be sure to check out our previous episodes. We've got a whole year of them. Next week is our holiday Spirit Movie Battle Royale. That's a fun episode. And be sure to check out our other podcast, Inspired by a True Story. I think that's fun. And that's it. I think we're going to head out of here. And Troy and I are going to hope that the Packers pull it ahead and end up in the playoffs somehow.
Are they still playing football?
They are, man.
They are still playing football.
Doing well somehow.
Like seven more weeks of it yet.
Last time I heard you guys bitching about it, that they were like shitting the bed or something.
They were shitting the bed, and then all of a sudden everybody else shit the bed. So now everybody's even again. So it's a whole new year.
Yeah.
Oh, so they just sucked first, is what I'm hearing.
What you do,
Exactly.
it's kind of like if you're trying to date someone, you wait until everybody else fails, and then you go in, and you can get the win.
Kind of like Apple. You don't have to be first. You just have to be better.
We at Apple want to introduce you to the USB-C that you've never seen. Fucking shut up. What is wrong with you people? They're so good. They got the USB-C. No one's ever heard of that before.
Oh, we are out. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for all the questions. Really appreciate it. And remember, the next time you head to a theater or stream comfortably on your couch, buy popcorn.
Be the turtle, not the rabbit.
What?